Hello there. It's been quite some time since I did a live video, and a lot has happened since then, and I don't necessarily need to comment on any of that. I thought instead what I'd do is I'd start up here with our reading of Hamlet again, which I've been very lax. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. I've been very lax in continuing with this reading of Hamlet, and so I thought I'd pick it up with you again. And so I have with me a bit of libation. This is just iced coffee here on a beautiful July afternoon. You see in the background here that the world has not ended. God's creation is still very vibrant and seems to be continuing in great glory. But there is a bit of a threat of rain today, so we're doing this video indoors instead of al fresca sub arbore, as is my general wont. But I thought I'd pick up again here with our play of Hamlet, The Tragedy of Hamlet, Prince of Denmark by William Shakespeare. One of my favorite of plays. One of the reasons I haven't been able to get back into it, not just because I've been distracted with other events, but because the play is, for me, extremely powerful. And when you talk to actors that play Hamlet or attempt to play Hamlet, they generally speak of it, like they do of Macbeth actually, as being something which really takes a lot out of you. Because drama, when it's done well, you can't just dial in a performance. You can't just dial in a reading. It takes a lot out of you. I find that's the case when I read anything of great power. When I read Lord of the Rings, for instance, it takes a lot out of me because there's some scenes in Lord of the Rings that are remarkably powerful, brilliant writing. Same thing when I read certain other great works, but Shakespeare especially takes a lot out of me, and I find myself stepping back for long periods of time when I read him, which may be a case for not reading Shakespeare in a school setting, because maybe Shakespeare is so powerful that you can't cram all of Hamlet into a week. You know, in a school setting, you have to keep to a schedule and blah, 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 blah. Keep going because you have always at your back, you hear Time's winged chariot drawing near, and so you know that the semester's going to end, so you don't want to linger too long on any one poem. And one of the things maybe that's necessary when you're reading a great work is that you linger over it, which may or may not be an argument against things online and online activities. You know, as a society, we've grown a little bit more, shall we say, averse to waiting for things, to letting a thing unfold before us, and for spending the necessary time simply considering, pondering, contemplating something. To read Hamlet in a week is to have done Hamlet. I've done Shakespeare. I've done Beowulf. I've done Plato. Yes, but are they done with you? Maybe the time that you've given to them needs to be more extensive. Perhaps that's why I have backed away for so long from Hamlet, from the reading. It could just be laziness too, I don't know. Basic human laziness and my own concupiscence. What Thomas Aquinas called the foams, because they foment rebellion. Perhaps. I don't know. But enough of excuses. Avert. Or as they say here, cut. Right? So we're picking back up with Hamlet. And this is Hamlet Act 2. And scene 1 is brief. But scene 2 is quite long. And scene 2 carries with it two of the most famous expositions in the whole play. You know, there are these great expositions that occur during the course of Hamlet. Sections that are quoted often and often enough, and which are brought up again and again for reflection. So we've already seen one of them for sure, which is, oh, that this too sullied flesh may melt, congeal, resolve itself into a dew, or that the Almighty had not fixed his canon against self-slaughter. That was back in Act 1. We've yet to hit the big one, right? To be or not to be. We'll get there, but that's further on down the road here in the reading of Hamlet. But this one, here in Act 2, we get on the one hand the exposition that Hamlet talks about what a piece of work is man. And I'll spend some time lingering over that once we're done with the reading here, because that's a very powerful section. That whole exposition about the nature of the vision of mankind, and especially as it has shifted in Western culture by the time Shakespeare's writing this. Fascinating, powerful, a little bit challenging, to say the least. The other part is where he meets with the players, the actors here in Act 2, and he hires them. And then he goes off on his own and he says, what a rogue and slave am I, right? What's Hecuba to these actors, or these actors to Hecuba, that they should show any emotion, right? There's a whole reflection upon the nature of acting, but also on the nature of whether or not we're all actors, whether or not we're all wearing a facade. So 2 big things to contemplate, to think about in this reading for today. So let's begin with Act 2, Scene 1. Hopefully you have a copy, or if you don't, I could wait for you to get one. Okay, good. You've got yours. Excellent. And in the link down below, I will put a link to the complete text of Shakespeare's Hamlet at MIT, because they have been kind enough to put all of Shakespeare's texts up online, so you can read those online as well, if the whole printed word thing you're not into, Though why you wouldn't be, I don't know. So this is Act 2, Scene 1. Enter old Polonius with his man Rinaldo. Polonius says, "Give him this money and these notes, Rinaldo." "I will, my lord." "You should do marvelous wisely, good Rinaldo, before you visit him, to make inquire of his behavior." "My lord, I did intend it." "Very well said, very well said. Look you, sir, inquire me first what danskers are in Paris, and how, and who, what means, and where they keep, what company, and at what expense, and finding by this encompassment and drift of question that they do know my son, come you more nearer than your particular demands will touch it. Take you as to some distant knowledge of him, as thus, I know his father, and his friends, and in part him, blah, 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 blah. Do you mark this, Rinaldo?" "Aye, very well, my lord." "And in part him, but, you may say, not well, but if be he, I mean, he's very wild, addicted, so-and-so. They're put on him what for forgeries you please. Marry none so rank as may dishonor him, take heed of that, but, sir, such wanton, wild, and usual slips as are companions, noted and most known to youth and liberty." "As gaming, my lord?" "Aye, or drinking, fencing, swearing, squabbling, or drabbing. You may go so far." "My lord, that would dishonor him." "Faith, no. As you may season it in the charge, you must not put another scandal on him that he is open to incontinency. That's not my meaning. But breathe his faults so quaintly that they may seem the feints of liberty, the flash and outbreak of a fiery mind, a savageness and unreclaimed blood of general assault." "But, good my lord." "Wherefore should you do this? Aye, my lord, I would know that." "Marry, sir, here's my drift. I believe it is a fetch of wit. You laying these slight sullies on my son, as 'twere a thing a little soiled in the working. Mark you, your party in converse, him you would sound, having ever seen in the predominant crimes the youth you breathe of guilty, be assured he closes with you in this consequence. Good sir, or friend, or gentleman, according to the phrase or the addition of man and country.
Very good, my lord.
And then, sir, does he this? He does what was I about to say? By the mass, I was about to say something. Where did I leave off?
That closes in the consequence? That friend is so, and gentleman?
That closes in the consequence. Hey, Mary. He closes thus. I know the gentleman. I saw him yesterday, or the other day, or then was such and such a... And as you say, there was he gaming, he took his rouse, they're falling out at tennis. Or perchance, I saw him enter such a house of sale, videlicet, a brothel, so forth. See you now your bait of falsehood take this carp of truth, with windlasses, with assays of bias, by indirections find directions out. So by my formal lecture and advice, shall you, my son. You have me, have you not?
My lord,
I have. Guide me with you, very well.
Good, my lord.
Observe his inclination in yourself.
I shall, my lord.
And let him ply his music.
Well, my lord.
Farewell.
And Rinaldo exits. Enter Ophelia.
How now, Ophelia? What's the matter?
Ophelia says, "Oh, my lord, I've been so affrighted."
With what in the name of God?
Lord, as I was sewing in my closet, Lord Hamlet with his doublet all unbraced, no hat upon his head, his stockings fouled, ungartered, and down gyved to his ankle, pale as his shirt, his knees knocking each other, and with a look so piteous in purport, as if he had been loosed out of hell, to speak of horrors. He comes before me.
Mad for thy love?
My lord, I do not know. But truly I do fear it.
What said he?
He took me by the wrist, and he held me hard, and then he goes to the length of all his arm, and with his other hand thus o'er his brow, he falls to such perusal of my face as he would draw it. Long stayed he so, and at last a little shaking of mine arm, and thrice his head thus waving up and down, he raised a sigh so piteous and profound as it did seem to shatter all his bulk and end his being. And that done, he let me go, and with his head over his shoulder turned, he seemed to find his way without his eyes. For out of doors he went without their helps, and to the last bended their light on me.
Yeah, come go with me. I will go seek the king. This is the very ecstasy of love, as violent property foredoes itself, and leads the will to desperate undertakings as oft as any passions under heaven, and does afflict our natures. I am sorry. What, have you given him any hard words of late?
No, my good lord, but as you did command, I did repel his letters, and denied his access to me.
That hath made him mad. I am sorry that with better heed and judgment I had not coated him. I feared he did but trifle, and meant to rack thee, but beshrew my jealousy. By heaven, it is as proper to our age to cast beyond ourselves in our opinions as it is common for the younger sort to lack discretion. Come, go into the king. This must be known, which, being kept close, might move more grief to hide than hate to utter love. Come. they exit. Polonius, this is my commentary now, so in case you hadn't figured out, Polonius is, in this play, in the role of the clown. Shakespeare had certain stock characters, probably because he had certain actors who could do roles very well. Certain stock characters, and one of them was the stock character of the clown. Not the fool, by the way, which is a different role. The fool, like in Lear, is a wise man normally, sometimes a woman, but a wise man who knows to keep his head down in a time of crisis. And so he plays the fool, so nobody attacks him, nobody comes after him. But the clown is normally a buffoon, an idiot, a fool, somebody who thinks that they're more important than they really are, or is more puffed up with themselves than they ought to be. That's a character that goes way back. Goes back to early plays by Plautus, for instance, in the Latin tradition. Maybe even further to some Greek drama, but certainly in the Roman tradition. So Shakespeare's not inventing anything new. What he does invent new here, I think, or tropes, interestingly enough, is that Polonius is supposed to be the advisor to the king. He is the one of the men that the king consults for wisdom. And certainly he's a learned, in terms of book-read men. But Polonius's major flaw, his major failing, is that he is a political climber. He's a political shark who's trying to gain better power in the court, gain higher advances in the court. And more than that, I think Polonius is a guy who doesn't trust human beings to simply be who they are. I think he's always wanting to find out the very heart of the matter, the essence of a person, to ferret out the real reason behind why they're doing what they're doing. He, therefore, will frequently be seen hiding behind something while he observes other people. Hides behind a wall, hides behind an arras, hides behind the furniture in order to hear what people have to say in secret when they don't know that they're being watched. He's kind of like that image of the deep state spying on us all the time, or George Orwell's 1984 government is always keeping an eye out for anybody who's going to be against the government. That's Polonius. Polonius is this guy who wants to ferret out anything that would be a trouble to the state, but also that might, advance his position of power in the court, because that would be advantageous. Consequently, the first time we see him, what is he doing? He's setting his own son, Laertes, setting him up to betray his inner corruption, his inner sin. Polonius wants to get at that inner sin, that interior corruption and rot and necrosis that infects even his own son. Why? Possibly because he wants to ferret it out and to help his son fix all his flaws. Maybe. Sort of a utopian idea, right? To fix everything. Make the world perfect. Make the master race. Maybe that's what Polonius is after. But one way or the other, this opening section in Act 2, Scene 2, is that he's hiring a guy, right, to come and ferret out from other people at the university that Laertes is going back to, ferret out from them what kind of guy is Polonius, or is Laertes. What kind of guy is this boy? And to do so, he wants this man that he's hiring to go and just hint at rumors. Yeah, I heard Laertes gambles a bit too much. And then the other person will be like, no, not at all. He never gambles. Or the other person will be like, yeah, he gambles a lot. And then the man can report back to Polonius, and Polonius knows either my son is not a gambler and virtuous and upright, or my son is a gambling fiend. And I got to ferret that out, tear that out of him in order to fix him, in order to improve him. and also in order to advance my own cause in the government, in the state here with Claudius. And then ironically, and Shakespeare's good at this, ironically then the other sibling, Ophelia, shows up in the same scene after the section on Laertes. The other sibling shows up, and she's quite shaken because she's seen something which is kind of horrendous to her. Now, Ophelia's a young girl. I put her in her teens, probably 14, 15 years old. Hamlet's probably in his mid-20s. But that age gap is not an uncommon thing, especially at the era. What is uncommon is that we get impressions in the play that Hamlet and Ophelia have had a sort of ongoing romance for maybe a year or two, where they have exchanged trinkets, they've exchanged ideas and love letters, and that now Hamlet is sort of betraying that by basically acting as though he were mad, as though he were crazy. But his acting, crazy, remember, is in order to keep the ire, the onerous anger of Claudius away from him. So for him, the madness is an act. And I wonder if in this scene that's related to us by Ophelia, I wonder if there isn't a moment right before he dons that outer facade of madness, where Hamlet is in anguish over the fact that he's going to have to shut out the very people that love him. He's going to have to shut out Ophelia if this is going to work, because she can't know. She would betray him because humans are weak. And knowing that, I think that Hamlet has kind of taken the first steps to kind of shut her away from him, to push her off. But it's caused him, I think, great anguish, great sorrow. So she's been moved not just by his madness, but by, I think, the intense sorrow that she has witnessed in him. And, of course, Polonius. Polonius, being the puritanical-minded person that he is, thinks that all of that comes from sexual desire. Oh, it must all come from sexual desire, right? Couldn't be anything else. Couldn't be an existential problem. Couldn't be the problem that Hamlet is having to don this armor in order to ferret out a murderer. Nope, it's all that he's a young guy who's full of zest and zeal and can't control himself. And that's vice, that's sin, has to be rooted out. Polonius gives that impression. He reminds me a lot in another form. He reminds me of the character in Twelfth Night. What's his name? I suddenly lost his name. The puritanical figure in Twelfth Night that wants to, because he is righteous, there will be no more cakes and ale. And he ends up being the dupe, the fool, the clown. He ends up being the guy who's wearing yellow garters and locked in a cage because he acts like an idiot in front of the princess. He's sort of like that figure. Polonius doesn't end up the same way, but we'll see how he ends up. And Ophelia, what to do with her? Ophelia is one of these great Shakespearean characters, female characters. He has two types of female characters from what I can tell. There's the very wise, intelligent, either evil or good, but wise, intelligent, crafty woman, like Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing. Or there's the crafty and evil type, like Lady Macbeth. But the other type that he has is this sort of innocent, beautiful, and therefore tragic character that gets destroyed in the course of the play. So she's kind of like from Midsummer Night's Dream. She's kind of like the young girl who's mooning after the guy, and she ends up chasing him into the woods. Here, Ophelia is this sort of tragic woman who doesn't know quite what to do with all this madness that's going on in court. All right, so we go to Act 2, Scene 2 of Hamlet. And this is a little bit of a long one, so we'll bear with me and we'll try to get through this business here. Act 2, Scene 2, Hamlet. Flourish. Enter King, Queen, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and attendants. The king, Claudius, starts off. Welcome, dear Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Moreover, that we much did long to see you, the need we have to use you did provoke our hasty sending. Something have you heard of Hamlet's transformation, so call it? Sith nor the exterior nor the inward man resembles that it was, what it should be, more than his father's death, that thus hath put him so much from the understanding of himself, I cannot dream of. I entreat you both, that being of so young days brought up with him, and sith so neighboured to his youth and behaviour, that you vouchsafe your rest here, in our court, some little time. So by your companies, to draw him unto pleasures, and to gather so much as from occasion you may glean, whether aught to us unknown afflicts him thus, that opened lies within our remedy. The Queen says, Good gentlemen, he hath much talked of you, and sure I am, two men there is not living to whom he more adheres. If it will please you to show us so much gentry and goodwill as to expend your time with us a while for the supply and profit of our hope, your visitation shall receive such thanks as fits a king's remembrance. Rosencrantz. Both your majesties might, by the 7 power you have of us, put your dread pleasures more into command than to entreaty. Guildenstern says, But we both obey, and here give up ourselves in the full bent to lay our service freely at your feet, to be commanded. Thanks, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. The Queen. Thanks, Guildenstern and gentle Rosencrantz. And I beseech you instantly to visit my too much changed son. Go, some of you, and bring these gentlemen where Hamlet is. Guildenstern says, Heavens make our presence and our practices pleasant and helpful to him. Aye, amen, says the Queen. And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern then exit with some attendants. Enter Polonius. The ambassadors from Norway, my good lord, are joyfully returned. Thou still hast been the father of good news, says the king. Have I, my lord? I assure my good liege, I hold my duty as I hold my soul, both to my God and to my gracious king. And I do think, or else this brain of mine hunts not the trail of policy so sure as it hath used to do, that I have found the very cause of Hamlet's lunacy. Oh, says the king, speak of that. That do I long to hear. Give first admittance to the ambassadors. My news shall be the fruit to that great feast. Thyself do grace to them and bring them in. And Polonius exits. He tells me, dear Gertrude, he hath found the head and source of all your son's distemper. I doubtless no other but the main, his father's death, and our o'er-hasty marriage. Well, we shall sift him. Enter the ambassadors Voltimand and Cornelius with Polonius. Welcome, my good friends. Say, Voltimand, what from our brother, Norway? Most fair return of greetings and desires. Upon our first he sent out to suppress his nephew's levies, which to him appeared to be a preparation against the Polak. But better looked into, he truly found it was against your highness, whereat, grieved that so sickness, age, and impotence was falsely borne in hand, sends out arrests on Fortinbras, which he in brief obeys, receives rebuke from Norway, and in fine makes vow before his uncle never more to give the assay of arms against your majesty. Whereon old Norway, overcome with joy, gives him 70,000 crowns in annual fee, and his commission to employ those soldiers. So, levied as before against the Polak with an entreaty hereon further shown. He gives him a paper. That it might please you to give quiet pass through your dominions for this enterprise, on such regards of safety and allowance as therein are set down. Says the king. It likes us well. And at our more considered time, we'll read, answer, and think upon this business. Meantime, we thank you for your well-took labor. Go to your rest, at night we'll feast together. Most welcome here. And Voltimand and Cornelius exit. This business is well ended, my liege and madam. To expostulate what majesty should be and what duty is, why, day is day, and night, and time is time. We're nothing but a waste, night, day, and time. Therefore, since brevity is the soul of wit, and tediousness the limbs and outward flourishes, I will be brief. Your noble son is mad. Well, mad, I call it for to define true madness. What is it but to be nothing else but mad? But let that go.
More matter with less art,
says the queen. Ah, madam, I swear I use no art at all. That he's mad, 'tis true, 'tis pity, and pity 'tis true. A foolish figure, but farewell it, for I will use no art. Mad, let us grant him, then, and now remains that we find out the cause of this effect. Or, rather say, of this defect. For this defect becomes by cause, and thus it remains, and the remainder thus. Perpend. I have a daughter, half while she is mine, who in her duty and obedience, mark, hath given me this. Now gather and surmise. To the celestial and my soul's idol, the most beautiful Ophelia, God, that's an ill phrase, a vile phrase, beautified is a vile phrase, but you shall hear, thus. In her excellent white bosom, these, etc., etc., etc.
Come this from Hamlet to her, says the queen.
Good madam, stay a while, I will be faithful. Doubt thou the stars are fire, doubt that the sun doth move, doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. Oh dear Ophelia, I am ill at these numbers, I have not art to reckon my groans, but that I love thee best, oh, most best, believe it, I do. Thine evermore, most dear lady, whilst this machine is to him, Hamlet. This in obedience hath my daughter shown me, and more above hath his solicitings, as they fell out by time, by means, and place, all given to mine ear. But how hath she received his love? What do you think of me? Or as of a man, faithful and honourable. I would fain prove so. But what might you think, when I had seen this hot love on the wing as I perceived it, I must tell you that before my daughter told me, what might you, my dear majesty, your queen, here, think if I had played the desk or table book or given my heart a winking, mute and dumb, or looked upon this love with idle sight? What might you think? No, I went round to work, and my young mistress thus I did bespeak. Lord Hamlet is a prince. Out of thy star, this must not be. And then I prescripts gave her that she should lock herself from his resort, admit no messengers, receive no tokens. Which done, she took the fruits of my advice, and he, repelled a short tale to make, fell into a sadness, and then into a fast, and then to a watch, thence into a weakness, thence to a lightness, and by this declension into the madness wherein now he raves, and all we mourn for. Do you think 'tis this?
It may be, very like, says the queen.
Has there been such a time, I would fain know that I have positively said 'tis so, when it proved otherwise? Not that I know, says the king. Take this from this, if this be otherwise. If circumstances lead me, I will find where truth is hid, though it were hid indeed within the center. How may we try it further? You know, sometimes he walks 4 hours together here in the lobby.
So he does, indeed, says the queen.
As such a time as that, I'll loose my daughter to him. Be you and I behind an arras, then. Mark the encounter, and if he love her not, and be not from this reason fallen thereon, let me be no assistant for a state, but keep a farm and carters. We will try it. Enter Hamlet reading a book.
But look, where sadly the poor wretch comes reading, says the queen.
Away, I do beseech you both away. I'll board him presently. Give me leave. The king and queen exit. How does my good Lord Hamlet?
Well, got a message.
Do you know me, my lord?
Excellent, well. Thou art a fishmonger.
Oh, yeah, not I, my lord.
Then I would you were so honest a man.
Honest, my lord?
Aye, sir.
To be honest as this word goes is to be one man picked out of 10,000. Oh, that's very true, my lord.
For if the sun breed maggots in a dead dog being a good kissing carry-on, have you a daughter?
Oh, yes, sir, I have, my lord.
Let her not walk in the sun. Conception is a blessing.
But as your daughter may conceive, friend, look to it. I'll say you by that. Still harping on my daughter. Yet he knew me not at first. He said I was a fishmonger. He is far gone, and truly in my youth I suffered much extremity for love. Very near this. I'll speak to him again. What do you read, my lord? Words? Words? Words. What is the matter, my lord?
Between who?
I mean, the matter that you read, my lord.
A slander, sir. For the satirical rogue, he says here that old men have gray beards, that their faces are wrinkled, their eyes purging thick amber and plum tree gum, and that they have a plentiful lack of wit, together with most weak hams. All which, sir, though I most powerfully and potently believe, yet I hold it not honesty to have it thus set down.
For yourself, sir, shall grow old, as I am, if, like a crab, you could go backwards. Though this be madness, yet there is method in it. Will you walk out of the air, my lord? Into my grave? Indeed. That's out of the air. How pregnant sometimes his replies are. The happiness that often madness hits on, which reason and sanity cannot so prosperously be delivered of. I will leave him, and suddenly contrive the means of meeting between him and my daughter. My lord, I will take my leave of you.
You cannot, sir, take from me anything that I will more willingly part withal, except my life. Except my life. Except my life.
Very well, my lord.
These tedious old fools.
Enter Guildenstern and Rosencrantz. You, says Polonius. Says Polonius. You go to seek the Lord Hamlet. Well, there he is. God save you, sir, says Rosencrantz. My honored lord, my most dear lord.
Ha! My excellent good friends, how dost thou, Guildenstern, Rosencrantz, good lads, how do you both?
As the indifferent children of the earth.
Happy in that we are not over-happy on fortune's cap, we are not the very button,
nor the soles of her shoes?
Neither, my lord. Then you lie about her waist, or in the middle of her favours, yes?
Faith, her privates, we.
In the secret parts of fortune, most true. She is a strumpet. What news?
None, my lord, but that the world's grown honest.
Then is doomsday near. But your news is not true. Let me question more in particular. What have you, my good friends, deserved at the hands of fortune that she sends you to prison hither?
Prison, my lord?
Denmark's a prison.
Well, then is the world one.
A goodly one in which there are many confines, wards, and dungeons, Denmark being one of the worst.
We think not so, my lord.
Why, then, 'tis none to you, for there is nothing either good or bad but thinking makes it so. To me, it is a prison. Why, then, your ambition makes it one. 'Tis too narrow for your mind, eh? God. I could be bounded in a nutshell and count myself a king of infinite space, were it not that I have had bad dreams. Which dreams indeed are ambition, for the very substance of the ambitious is merely the shadow of a dream. A dream itself is but a shadow.
Truly, and I hold ambition of so airy and light a quality that it is but a shadow's shadow.
Then are our beggars' bodies and our monarchs and outstretched heroes the beggars' shadows. Shall we to the court? For by my fay, I cannot reason.
It will wait upon you, the Rosencrantz guilted.
No such matter. I will not sort you with the rest of my servants, for to speak to you like an honest man, I am most dreadfully attended. But in the beaten way of friendship, what make you at Elsinore?
Oh, to visit you, my lord. No other occasion.
Beggar that I am even poor in thanks. But I thank you, and sure, my dear friends,
My thanks are too dear a halfpenny. Were you not sent for? Is it your own inclining? Is it a free visitation? Come now, deal justly with me. Come, they speak. What should we say, my lord? Anything but to the purpose. You were sent for, and there is a kind of confession in your looks which your modesties have not craft enough to color. I know the good king and queen have sent for you. To what end, my lord? That you must teach me. But let me conjure you by the rights of our fellowship, by the consonancy of our youth, by the obligation of our ever-preserved love, and by what more dear a better proposer can charge you withal, be even and direct with me, whether you are sent for or no. What say ye? Says Rosencrantz. Nay, then I have an eye of you. If you love me, hold not off. My lord, we were sent for. Ah, and I will tell you why. So shall my anticipation prevent your discovery, and your secrecy to the king and queen moult no feather. I have, of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth, foregone all custom of exercises, and indeed it goes so heavily with my disposition that this goodly frame, the earth, seems to me a sterile promontory. This most excellent canopy, the air, look you, this brave o'erhanging firmament, this majestical roof, fretted with golden fire. Why, it appeareth nothing to me but a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. What a piece of work is man. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights not me. No, nor woman neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. My lord, there was no such stuff in my thoughts. Why did you laugh, then, when I said man delights not me? Oh, to think, my lord, if you delight not in man, what Lenten entertainment the players shall receive from you. We coated them on the way, and hither are they coming to offer you service. He that plays the king shall be welcome. His majesty shall have tribute on me. The adventurous knight shall use his foil and target. The lover shall not sigh gratis. The humorous man shall end his part in peace. The clown shall make those laugh whose lungs are tickle of the seer. And the lady shall say her mind freely, or the blank verse shall halt for it. What players are they? Even those who were wont to take such delight in the tragedians of the city. How chances it they travel? Their residence, both in reputation and profit, was better both ways. I think their inhibition comes by the means of the late innovation. Do they hold the same estimation they did when I was in the city? Are they so followed? No, indeed. Are they not? Oh, how comes it? Do they grow rusty? Nay, their endeavour keeps in the wonted place. But there is, sir, an area of children, little eyases, that cry out on the top of a question, and are most tyrannically clapped for it. These are now the fashion, and so be rattle the common stages, so they call them, that many wedding rapiers are afraid of goose quills, and dare scarce come thither. What are they, children? Who maintains them? And how are they escorted? Will they pursue the quality no longer than they can sing? Will they not say afterwards, if they should grow themselves to common players, as it is most like, if their means are no better, their writers do them wrong to make them exclaim against their own succession? Faith, there has been much to do on both sides, and the nations hold it no sin to tar them to controversy. There was for a while no money bid for argument, unless the poet and the player went to cuffs in the question. It's possible. Or there's been much throwing about of brains, says Guildenstern. And do the boys carry it away? Ay, that they do, my lord. Hercules and his load, too. It is not very strange. For my uncle is king of Denmark, and those that would make mouths at him while my father lived give 20, 40, 50, 100 ducats apiece for his picture in little. It's blood. There's something in this more than natural if philosophy could find it out. There's a flourish for the players. There are the players. Gentlemen, says Hamlet, addressing the players, you are welcome to Elsinore. Your hands, come then. The appurtenance of welcome is fashion and ceremony. Let me comply with you in this garb, lest my extent to the players, which I tell you most show surely outwards, should more appear like entertainment than yours. You are welcome, but my uncle father and aunt mother are deceived. In what, my lord? Says Guildenstern. I am but mad northwest. When the wind is southerly, I know a hawk from a handsaw. Enter Polonius. Well be with you, gentlemen. Hark you, Guildenstern, and you too, at each ear a hearer. That great baby that you see there is not yet out of his swaddling clouts. Haply he is the second time come to them, for they say an old man is twice a child. I will prophesy. He comes to tell me of the players. Mark it. You say right, sir. A Monday morning. 'Twas then, indeed. My lord, I have news to tell you. My lord, I have news to tell you. When Roscius was an actor in Rome, the players are come hither, my lord. Bzz, 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 bzz. Upon my honor. Then come each actor on his ass. The best actors in the world, either for tragedy, comedy, history, pastoral, comical, historical, pastoral, tragical, historical, tragical, comical, historical, pastoral, scene individable, poem unlimited. The Seneca cannot be too heavy, nor Plautus too light, for the law of writ and the liberty, these are the only men. Oh, Jephthah, judge of Israel, what a treasure hadst thou? What treasure had he, my lord? Why, one fair daughter, and no more, the which he loved passing well. Still my daughter. Am I not in the right, old Jephthah? Huh? if thou call me Jephthah, my lord, I have a daughter that I love passing well. Nay, then, that follows not. What follows then, my lord? Why, as by lot God wot, and then you know it came to pass as most like it was. The first row of the pious chanson will show you more, for look where my abridgment comes. Enter the players. You're welcome, masters, welcome all. I am glad to see thee well. Welcome, good friends. Oh, my old friend, why thy face is valiant since I saw thee last. Comest thou to beard me in Denmark? What, my young lady and mistress, byre lady, your ladyship is nearer to heaven than when I saw you last by the altitude of a Chopin. Pray God, your voice like a piece of uncurrent gold be not cracked within the ring. Masters, you are all welcome. Well, into it like French falconers, fly at anything we see. We'll have a speech, straight. Come, give us a taste of your quality. Come, a passionate speech. First player. What speech, my good lord? I heard thee speak me a speech once, but it was never acted, or if it was, not above once for the play. I remember, please not the million. 'Twas caviare to the general. But it was, as I received it, and others whose judgments in such matters cried in the top of mine, an excellent play. Well digested in the scenes, set down with as much modesty as cunning. I remember one said there were no salads in the lines to make the matter savory, nor no matter in the phrase that might indict the author of affectation, but called it an honest method, as wholesome as sweet, and by very much more handsome than fine. One speech in it I chiefly loved. 'Twas Aeneas' tale to Dido, and thereabout of it, especially when he speaks of Priam's slaughter. If it live in your memory, begin at this line. Let me see. The rugged Pyrrhus, like the Hyrcanian beast. 'Tis not so. It begins with Pyrrhus. The rugged Pyrrhus, he whose sable arms, black as his purpose, did the knight resemble when he lay couched in the ominous horse, hath now this dread and black complexion smeared with heraldry more dismal, head to foot, and now as he total ghouls, horridly tricked with blood of fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, baked and impasted with the parching streets, that lend a tyrannous and damned light to their lord's murder, roasted in wrath and fire, and thus o'ersized with coagulated gore, with eyes like carbuncles. The hellish Pyrrhus, old grandsire Priam seeks. So proceed you. For God, my lord, says Polonius, well spoken, with good accent and good discretion. The first player. Anon he finds him, striking too short at Greeks. His antique sword, rebellious to his arm, lies where it falls, repugnant to command, unequal matched. Pyrrhus at Priam drives, and rage strikes wide, but with the whiff and wind of his fell sword, the unnerved father falls. And then senseless Ilium, seeming to feel this blow with flaming top, stoops to his base, and with a hideous crash takes prisoners Pyrrhus' ear. For lo, his sword, which was declining on the milky head of Reverend Priam, seemed in the air to stick. So as a painted tyrant Pyrrhus stood, and like a neutral to his will and matter, did nothing. But as we often see against some storm, a silence in the heavens, the rack stand still, the bold winds speechless, and the orb below as hush as death. Anon the dreadful thunder doth rend the region. So after Pyrrhus' pause aroused vengeance sets him new awork, and never did the Cyclops' hammers fall on Mars' armor. Forged for proof etern with less remorse than purest bleeding sword, now falls on Priam! Out, thou strumpet fortune! O you gods and general synod, take away her power, break all the spokes and fellies from her wheel, and bowl the round nave down the hill of heaven as low as to the fiends. Polonius says, this is too long. It shall to the barbers with your beard, says Hamlet. Prithee, say on. He's for a jig or a tale of bawdry, or he sleeps. Say on. Come to Hecuba. But woe. Woe had seen the mobilid queen. The mobilid queen? That's good. That's good. Mobilid queen is good. But woe had seen the mobilid queen run barefoot up and down, threatening the flames with bison rheum. Clout upon that head where late the diadem stood, and for a robe about her lank and all o'erteemed loins, a blanket in the alarms of fear caught up, who this had seen, with tongue in venom steeped gainst fortune's state, would treason have pronounced. But if the gods themselves did see her then, when she saw Pyrrhus make malicious sport in mincing with his sword her husband's limbs, the instant burst of clamour that she made, unless things mortal moved them not at all, would have made milk the burning eyes of heaven and passion in the gods. Look where he has not turned his colour, and his tears in his eyes. Prithee, no more. 'Tis well. I'll have thee speak out the rest of this soon. Good my lord, will you see the players well bestowed? Do you hear? Let them be well used, for they are the abstract and brief chronicles of the time. After your death, you would better have a bad epitaph than their ill report while you live. My lord, I will use them according to their desert. God's bodkins, man! Much better. Use every man after his desert, and who shall escape whipping? Use them after your own honor and dignity. The less they deserve, the more merit is in your bounty, so take them in. Come, sirs. Follow him, friends. We'll hear a play tomorrow. As Polonius and the players exit, Hamlet speaks to the first player. Dost thou hear me, old friend? Can you play The Murder of Gonzago? Aye, my lord, says the first player. Well, tomorrow. You could, for a need, study a speech of some 12 or 16 lines, which I would set down and insert in it, could you not? Aye, my lord. Very well. Follow that, lord. And look you, mock him not. The first player exits. My good friends, I'll leave you till night. You are welcome in Elsinore. Rosencrantz says, good, my lord. Aye, so goodbye to you. And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern exit. Now I'm alone. And oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I. Ugh. Is it not monstrous that this player here, but in a fiction, in a dream of passion, could force his soul so to his own conceit that from her working all his visage wand and tears in the eyes, distraction in his aspect, broken voice and his whole function suiting with forms to his conceit, and all for nothing. For Hecuba. What's Hecuba to him? Or he to Hecuba? That he should weep for her. What would he do had he the motive and the cue for passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears and cleave the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty and appall the free, confound the ignorant, and amaze indeed the very faculties of eyes and ears. Yet I, a dull and muddy-mettled rascal, peak like John of Dreams, unpregnant in my cause, and can say nothing. No. Not for a king, upon whose property and most dear life a damned defeat was made. Ha! Am I a coward? Who calls me villain? Who breaks my painted cross? Who plucks off my beard and blows it in my face? Who tweaks me by the nose and gives me the lie in the throat as deep as to the lungs? Who does me thus? Ha! Swoons. I should take it, for it cannot be but I am pigeon-livered, and I lack gall to make oppression bitter. Or ere this, I should have fatted all the region's kites with his slaves. Awful. Bloody body villain. Body villain. Remorseless. Treacherous. Lecherous. Kindless villain. Vengeance. Vengeance! What an ass am I? This is most brave. That I, the son of a dear father murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must, like a whore, unpack my heart with words and fall like cursing like a very drab scullion. Fie upon it. Foe. About my brains. I have heard that guilty creatures, sitting at a play, have, by the very cunning of the scene, been struck so to the soul that presently they have proclaimed their malefactions. For murder, though it have no tongue, will speak with most miraculous organ. I'll have those players play something like the murder of my father before mine uncle, and I'll observe his looks. I'll tempt him to the quick, and if he do blanch, I know my course. The spirit that I have seen may be a devil, and the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. Yea, and perhaps out of my weakness and my melancholy, as he is very potent with such spirit, abuses me to Damn me. I'll have grounds more relative than this. Ha! The play's the thing, wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. And he exits. End of Act 2, Scene 2. There's a lot there to unpack, friends and neighbors. And if you had questions about various things in this text, feel free to type them in. I'll be glad to answer questions that you have. But there are two things that I notice very startlingly here. The first is how much duplicitousness is going on. You notice at the very start there, back in Act 2, Scene 1, Polonius is setting up an artifice to root out the very heart of Laertes' sin. And then along comes Ophelia and says, here's Hamlet, and he's wearing this mask. I've never seen it like this before, and it's really scary to me. And Polonius says, let's go to the king. And so there's a sort of like duplicitousness there. You know, Polonius, who's just been duplicitous with his son, now sort of being duplicitous with Ophelia. She's not playing a game, but she's playing Hamlet into the game of Polonius. And then Polonius goes to the king and queen, and what are they doing? But they're hiring Rosencrantz and Guildenstern in order to basically root out Hamlet's problem. And they're seeing messengers from foreign nations, so there's this sort of diplomacy going on. Subterfuge, right? Duplicitousness. And then Polonius, who says, all this is, right, not artifice, not art. I assure you I use no art. But brevity is the soul of wit, so I'll be brief. And then he goes and uses art in order to tell his story. And he's very dithering and very courtly, I guess you could say, trying to get in as much airtime as he can with the king and queen. So he's being very duplicitous. And he's got this mask on. And then he goes and tells the king and queen, I think I found out the source of Hamlet's madness. And it's a mask that Polonius is wearing, right? Because I've rooted out that problem. And I'll tell you now, and you'll advance my career. And then he says, well, let's go and hide behind an arras and test Hamlet using Ophelia. So more duplicity. And then Rosencrantz and Guildenstern go to Hamlet, right? And they use duplicitousness in order to try and like get out from him the root of his madness. Same way that Polonius is trying to root out the sin of Laertes. So all these political players, Claudius and Polonius and even Gertrude, are trying to manipulate people and trying to root out the real truth, and hiding behind masks or artifice or other characters that are acting in their stead. And I wonder if that isn't sort of playing into that theme again with Shakespeare about how if one has been infected with this problem of the scholastic movement, if you've been infected with the idea that all we have are shadows, that there's no real world beyond this, that these things that we see, these concrete things, are mere matter, mere transitory matter. I wonder if you don't start thinking about, well, what's the thing behind it? What's the reality behind it? Is there one? Can I root it out? Is there a certain duplicity that goes on there and a certain masking that goes on there? I think it plays back into that scholastic problem. Because what's at the root of all of our existence? What's at the root of this material world? Is there something real at the root of it? Is there something metaphysical at the root of it? Let's root that out. Let's drag that out and get absolute assurance that there's really a God and that there's really a soul. And once we find that concrete reason for believing in God, then we'll believe. Then we'll have real proof. And even Hamlet himself is going to use the players to root out the real sin of Claudius, to prove without a shadow of a doubt that Claudius has killed his father. Because the ghost he's seen could be a devil. And so he's going to use duplicity as well to try and overcome that fact. And he has that great line of, what's Hecuba to him or him to Hecuba? That we're all wearing masks. And these guys play it so well. And if they had the real passion that I had, then they'd really play. They'd drown the stage in tears. But no, it's all masks, right? It's all masks. And finally, and I'm running low on battery here, so if I don't get to this, I'll try and tag it on with another video. Finally, there's that great speech that Hamlet makes, which has stuck with me ever since. What a piece of work is man. What is this pestilential congregation of vapors? Man delights not me. He's a quintessence of dust. If we see the world as merely materialism, what is there in the universe to look forward to? What is there that's beauty? There's nothing more than just a pestilential congregation of vapors. Human beings are not glorious. Human beings have nothing marvelous about them. They're just a quintessence of dust. And infected with this sense of the nominalist side, we end up saying that man delights not me. Nothing of human existence or culture or anything delights not me. And so what do we have to put in its stead? Political power. Political power. Because the only thing left to us is simply to climb up that corpse-laden hill, get to the top and be king of the hill, and then we can fix all the problems. We'll get the ring, and then we'll make the bad man pay, right? If we can gain that power, because there's no God, there's no afterlife, right? There's no soul, there's no beauty. It's just dust, quintessence of dust. If we can gain that power, we can fix everything and make the world perfect. We'll make the master race. We'll clean the streets. Everything will be just dandy. By force, we'll make it dandy. We'll see if that's the case, because I have to quit. We'll get to Act 3 next time. And I promise there will be a next time. I'm not going to give up on Hamlet yet. Thanks so much for watching. And take care. God bless you all. God bless your families. So long.